The HTC U11 Life Android One is ostensibly a mid-range U11, but it's also a lot like a mid-range Pixel 2, which HTC also made. Under the auspices of the Android One program, the U11 Life runs near-stock Android Oreo, offering a very similar software experience to the Pixel 2, but with mid-range specs and a $350 price tag. The U11 Life's lineage is visible in the familiar liquid surface design, but it makes the switch to an acrylic and polycarbonate chassis instead of glass and aluminum. It maintains those big old bezels, but unfortunately does away with stereo boom sound speakers. But it does come with a fully fledged version of HTC's Edge Sense, something even the Pixel 2 doesn't have. Edge Sense lets you use long and short squeezes of the frame to launch the camera and take photos, or switch between cameras. You can also use it to launch Google Assistant and map various actions within individual apps. Some might think it's gimmicky, but I find it to be quite intuitive and actually use it a lot. Of course, if you're not into it, it can easily be disabled. Another nice HTC add-on to the stock Oreo experience is HTC USonic audio tuning. The U11 Life comes with a pair of active noise-cancelling USonic earbuds, connected via USB Type-C. They're very comfortable to wear and offer rich bass and excellent audio quality, but their real secret is in their ability to map the contours of your ear canal to create an audio profile that's unique to you. Because the U11 Life Android One runs Oreo, it also supports various high-end audio codecs like aptX HD and LDAC, so if you're into wireless headphones, you can enjoy higher quality streaming. It also supports Bluetooth 5 for higher throughput and longer range connections with compatible devices. The downside of all this audio goodness is that there's no 3.5mm headphone jack, and there's no included adapter either. Even if you already have a 3.5mm to USB Type-C adapter lying around, it likely won't work with the U11 Life. That's because HTC uses a special digital protocol that dumb adapters don't support. So if you want your wired headphones to play nice with the U11 Life, you'll have to pick up an HTC-made digital adapter with a built-in DAC. Another thing worth noting is that the impressive USonic earbuds won't work with other smartphones that don't support that protocol I mentioned. While they worked fine with the Huawei Mate 10 Pro, they didn't with the LG V30, the Galaxy Note 8 or the Pixel 2. It's likely not a deal breaker, but something to be aware of. The U11 Life has two big surprises in store, and the 5.2-inch Full HD Super LCD panel is one of them. It's really quite good, with rich colours, good dynamic range and viewing angles, and decent if not exceptional outdoor visibility with over 500 nits of brightness. The second surprise was the camera, which was much better than I was expecting. HTC has been making some good cameras for a while now, and the 16MP f2.0 cameras on the front and back of the U11 Life are really very good. The main camera has phase detection autofocus, but unfortunately no optical image stabilization. With steady hands though, you can get very good low light shots with little noise and good colour reproduction. Just take a look at this side by side with the Pixel 2 to see how well the U11 Life performs. At this price point, the camera's performance is a very big bonus. Sure, it has its weaknesses, most notably a slow camera app and shutter lag, but with a little patience you can get really good shots out of it. It shoots video in 4K at 30 frames per second with high-res audio recording and 720p slow motion at 120 frames a second. There's HDR boost on both cameras, and you've got a very capable Pro mode with support for RAW. I found the U11 Life tended to slightly underexpose shots, but that's easily fixed with the exposure compensation slider in the camera app or by using the manual controls. Colours were accurate without oversaturation, and the U11 Life captures a good amount of detail in daylight, although things do degrade in really dark environments and sooner or later noise is unavoidable. But I was generally really impressed by the U11 Life's camera and think it, along with the software experience and display, are the real standouts of this phone. U11 Life also has an IP67 water resistance rating, NFC if you're into Android Pay, comes in versions with 3GB of RAM and 32GB of storage, or 4GB of RAM and 64GB of storage, both of which have microSD expansion. But considering the minimal price difference between the two, I'd absolutely recommend the version with more RAM and storage. It also packs all the benefits of Android Oreo alongside guaranteed updates for 2 years and security patches for 3. But there's always a downside, and some of the U11 Life's flaws are going to be make or break for some. Besides the contentious headphone jack situation, the U11 Life is powered by the Snapdragon 630, a thoroughly mid-range chipset that, while it handles the Android Oreo experience admirably, isn't going to be good enough for some folks, especially if you consider yourself a power user or mobile gamer. I found the 630 to be quite sufficient for everyday tasks, but it's something to keep in mind, especially considering the same amount of money can get you a better spec sheet elsewhere. The 2600 mAh battery is also not going to be big enough for everyone. I averaged between 4.5 to 5.5 hours of screen on time a day, which is fine for most, but will leave demanding users wanting more. The 5V 2A charging brick will top the U11 Life up in a little over an hour and a half, with a half charge in 30 to 40 minutes. U11 Life also feels very plasticky and scratches much more easily than a glass-backed phone. It's more resistant to impact and less likely to crack than glass, but I'd still recommend using a case just to protect that surface from the scratches it'll attract as readily as it does fingerprints. Likewise, the single bottom firing speaker is there if you really need it, but there's no HTC boom sound to be found here. And as nice as the 16 megapixel selfie camera is, I personally would have preferred a more sedate front-facing sensor in exchange for OIS on the main camera. As with all mid-range phones, it's a game of give and take. If you want to know if you should spend €350 on the U11 Life with Android One, I can't definitively say that you should. There's just too much solid competition in the same price range that you'd need to check out first, some of which has dual cameras, bigger batteries, and more audio options, for example. But one thing I can say is that if you do buy the U11 Life Android One, you're very unlikely to be disappointed. Yes, it's a little slower and less powerful than some other phones out there, and maybe its battery could be bigger and its price tag a little bit lower, but the software experience is excellent. It has some great additional features like Edge Sense and USonic audio, and it packs a great screen, really good camera, and has guaranteed updates for years. Unfortunately for our US viewers, it's not making it to the US market though, but you will get a version with HTC Sense. The HTC U11 Life Android One is not the perfect phone for everyone, no. But if the issues you've seen here haven't put you off, the HTC U11 Life with Android One is going to be a really great phone for many. As always, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe, like the video, hit us up on social media, and visit androidauthority.com for more on the HTC U11 Life, because we are your source for all things Android.